Joining us now, Congressman, Republican from the 7th District of Virginia, Dr. Dave Brat. Congressman, good to have you with us.
Hey, John, great to be on. Thank you.
Okay, so the president's zero tolerance policy was simply in reaction to the fact that illegal immigration apprehensions at the southern border of the United States in the second quarter of 2018 versus 2017 were up 300%. Now, we also know that only 25% of people are apprehended. That means that 75% are not apprehended, and they're just in the United States. And nobody wants to mention this, right? They just are not apprehended. These are only the 25% that couldn't elude the authorities when they came in illegally. But the Democrats now basically calling for family reunification, which I think we're all for that. The president signing an executive order saying he's no longer going to split the families up. But now we're back to catch and release, which really is not a policy. It's just a policy of open borders, basically. What do we do, Dave? How do we solve this?
Yeah, well, I think you first got to cut through the politics and just remain rational, and everybody needs to remain calm and just explain what's going on. And Hillary Clinton is on videos along with President Obama responding to the same type of problem they ran into back in their administrations. And so that's the first part, which shows this isn't partisan and it's not political. There's plenty of partisan and political stuff going on, but the nature of the problem isn't. And so the problem you run into is there's laws going back to the 1996 immigration piece that the Democrats constructed, which gave us some of these problems that give you 3 weeks to process the kids with the parents intact, right? And if you can't do that on time, then you run into this problem. And President Obama and Hillary Clinton both stated exactly that. And Hillary Clinton went on video and said, please don't come here because this is what will happen, et cetera, right? And so they knew they had a problem on their hands, and we haven't solved it. And so that's why you need the Goodlatte bill, which is just sound policy that Hillary and Obama both agreed to, the major components, like E-Verify. These aren't Republican. These were Democrat points back when the Democrats cared about American wages, et cetera. And so the Republicans have goofed things up a little bit because we didn't follow regular order. We should have stayed on the Goodlatte bill, passed it. It's good, rational policy. Goodlatte's on judiciary from Virginia. He's been working on this stuff for 30 years to get it right. And instead, we got lured off because of our 25 Republicans. The moderate camp went off to work with 200 Democrats, and no Democrats came along for the ride. And so 6 months ago, the Democrats shut the government down over DACA. And we said, good, let's do DACA. We'll compromise 700,000 DACA. And everybody forgets this, right? The Democrats shut the government down over that back in January. And we said, let's compromise, and they said no to that. Then Trump said, we'll give you $1.8 million. The Democrats said no to that. Then we compromised with 200 Democrats. They say no to that process, and nothing comes out of it. And then finally the parent separation. I'm on a bill. I'm the lead co-sponsor in the House with Ted Cruz on the family separation piece, which adds more judges, et cetera, brings the parents and the kids back together. And Schumer comes out the night we announce and says no to that, right? So you can only be left with one conclusion, right? The Democrats don't want to solve these problems. If you actually solve these problems and they go away, what's the need for the Democrats? And so that's where we are.
So the bill that you sponsored in the House, basically, explain exactly what that is, and then I want to get back to the Goodlatte bill and why that failed so miserably. But start with the specifics of what you've co-authored with Ted Cruz, sir.
Yeah, well, there's a law that says you can only detain. So the initial problem on catch and release is when parents come in with kids, it's a misdemeanor to come across illegally and then a felony if you've done it twice. Well, if you put the parents in jail, right, that we don't want to put the kids in jail with the parents. And so the policy going back decades separates the parents from the kids right there, and there's your problem, right? And so that raises all sorts of tough issues. So our bill just expedites the processing within 14 days to get it right. 80% of the asylum cases, it's been reported, right? I'll double-check the number, but 80% are not accurate. They're not asylum, right? People fleeing political situations from the home countries, Honduras and Guatemala and El Salvador, et cetera. And so in our bill, Cruz and I, we double the number of federal immigration judges to expedite these claims to show, because the problem is, once folks catch and release, right, once they go into the population centers, they go up to Virginia and all the other states are at the maps of where everyone goes, and then a ton of the folks don't come back for their court date. And that's the major problem we're facing right now. And so our bill solves that problem. It keeps the parents together with the kids. You would think the Democrats would sign on. We'll see. I mean, we'll see. There's somewhere that's a couple senators now taking a look at it, so that would be good news.
All right, but Dave, the other problem is, according to the Flores ruling, you can't hold a child in any circumstance for over 20 days. So if you can't get this thing expedited over 20 days, what happens?
Well, you're right. That's the problem, and that's what the Cruz and I. That's the purpose of our bill. We want to expedite within 14 days. We're going to put the resources in there to do it, and the resources are highly cost effective. Right? If you can expedite and make this decision, then you don't have buses going all over and airlines and the processing costs of kids living here and their parents living here, et cetera. So we're going to try to get it done within 2 weeks. When folks come across the border, and then we're going to have to do a better job of working on the causation of this, right? Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador don't have the rule of law, and that's why folks are living. They got chaos. Meet the Press, the more liberal show. Right? Chuck Todd yesterday reported 1 in 10 people in the El Salvador economy are associated with the gangs through their jobs or job connected. Right? And so they're reporting that kind of statistic. They say it's a war zone to up their argument that these folks need asylum, but they don't show the same logic is if we have open borders, which the left basically is arguing for right now,
right.
Then those folks come to the USA through the border, right?
Right.
1 in 10 work with the gangs, reported by Chuck Todd.
Right.
I mean, you cannot make it up.
Mm-hmm. No, look, that's a statistic. I mean, the reason why the president went to a zero-tolerance policy is to act as a deterrent. Now, here's my question. For those people that are coming to the United States asking for asylum, there's 325 ports of entry across the southern border, 2 of them in San Diego. They stretch all the way down. There's 325 of them. So my question is, if you're navigating through dangerous terrain with your children in tow, and it's taking you, weeks? I mean, it's got to be weeks. It isn't a day, right? It's weeks. And you're sleeping outside, right, and you got to find money to eat, whatever. And you get to the southern border of the United States, and you legitimately want to claim asylum, and you can keep your family together. Why wouldn't you just go to the port of entry legally and claim asylum? And then you're not split up with your family. There is no arrest. You have to wait in line. It might be a day or 2 or 3, but you're going to get processed. And meantime, you get the housing, and you don't go over the border. You don't break the law. And then you can go through the application process, and your family stays together. My question is, if they were legitimate asylum seekers, why wouldn't they do that? Why?
Well, I think you answered it. The legitimate asylum seeker criterion is, you have to be fleeing political persecution. It can't be you're coming for economic reasons, right? And the left now, a bunch of the Democrat elites are saying they want to get rid of ICE, implying get rid of law enforcement altogether. I mean, so I hope people wake up here and realize what they're hearing, right? You have Democrat senators running for president of the United States, staking out getting rid of ICE, getting rid of law enforcement, having open borders, right? If you ask the Democrats, et cetera, very few will answer. I don't know of any who will answer what is the top number you want of folks coming in, legal or illegal, et cetera. And there's no answer. They're not running on any policy platform. And so that's where we are. And you hit the nail on the head. Asylum is asylum, but that's not what they want. They want an open border. And everybody, if you just remember that one fact, everything else ties back to that.
Well, sure, because there's no policy of deterrence. They want no policy of deterrence. They want to get rid of ICE, so they want no deportations. So then the question becomes, they want a no border situation, open borders or no borders at all. Then my question to you is this: why? In other words, you're running against Abigail Spanberger. I've got her coming on my show on Thursday, I believe, at the 8 o'clock hour. So here's the question to Abigail Spanberger and other Democrats. What do you want, and why are you in favor of an open border situation? Why? What is the goal here? Do you have any idea? What's their goal?
Well, I think we know. I mean, they want to change the political calculation, and they want new voters coming in, right? And so they won't answer the question. The Democrats, my opponent included, will say, I want to change the rhetoric. But they'll never give you an answer as to what policy. Do you have any policy you can share with us on paper that's written down on paper for what you propose? And the answer will be no, right? They'll just say, I want to change the rhetoric up in D.C. And then you get to, you had people, swearing in the church at the town hall meetings and whatever. On the Democrat side, we're not seeing the tone changing for the good, right? We're seeing terrible tone coming out of the left. And I shouldn't say Democrats, right? I mean, this is progressive left that we're talking about. And then yesterday we have now multiple cases of the president's press secretary being kicked out of a restaurant. That's a new day. And people being kicked out of movie theaters. And then Maxine Waters, everybody go Google that, and she says this is just the beginning, right? We're going to shut them down so they can't go anywhere, so they can't go to the gas station, they can't go to this, they can't. I mean, that's not the America any of us know. So that's what's coming to you, and I just gave you hard facts on the left. That's what's going on in our own country right now. So I don't see a good new tone coming. I've always tried to be ethical and respectful and not use that kind of foul language or that kind of threats or intimidation. You'll never see that. I went to seminary. I take that serious. But the left right now is just showing where they're willing to go.
Congressman, the Sarah Huckabee situation, she goes to dinner with her family in Lexington, Virginia, by the way, home of VMI, where I do VMI football games, just so everyone knows. And they go to the Red Hen and they get kicked out. Then the people that kicked them out are being defended by legacy media companies and commentators. Could you imagine? I mean, where have we gotten when people can't get served? Now, if I was there and they kicked me out, I would have certainly went, because if I put up a beef, I don't know what they're going to put in my food for my children. So, yeah, I'm getting out of there. But what is that about?
Well, that is about, if you think about it for a minute, the loss of freedom in the United States of America. And I don't know of anything that's much more serious than that. That is your loss of freedom, and I hope we adjudicate these. I don't want these to just be one-off political talking points. That right there is an assault on American freedom for both the left or the right, right? That's what ethics is. You have to have the same rules, the same rule of law, the same ethics, the same justice for everybody in this country. And so the day when you're getting kicked out of restaurants and movie theaters, whatever, because of your political point of view, I can think of some names that go along with that. I won't say them, but I think everybody knows this is just totally unacceptable, and it collapses all that the Bill of Rights is there to protect, which is our human freedom. And that's where we are right now in the country.
All right, Congressman, let's get to the Bob Goodlatte bill last week. 41 Republicans voting no. That's a lot of votes that were no. You voted for the bill. So did the majority of your Republican colleagues in Virginia. The majority, not all. I think Barbara voted no. But, 41 Republicans vote no. How do you get anything done here? You can't even get Republicans to want to do anything to secure the southern border of the United States. So how will you ever solve this?
Yeah, well, that's what's frustrating. We 30 plus, there are about 5 conservatives who don't want to vote for any amnesty whatsoever. And so you can debate that one. But, you got 30 moderates who leapfrogged over our leadership to go with 200 Democrats, right? So they're the no's on this bill. And we got 193 votes. And leadership was telling everybody we couldn't get anywhere near that. So they were shocked to find out that the Goodlatte bill was, you got to get 20, 25 votes to flip there to go the other way. And the leadership bill, they were going to have votes on the same day, and they had to pull it because that one you had 50 or 60 hard no's against it. And once you see 50 or 60 go up on the board, you're going to get another 50 that go away because they don't want to walk the plank.
Mm-hmm.
And so that bill wasn't going anywhere either. And I don't think it will, right? That one just will not solve the problems. And, we've talked about that on many occasions. So that, of course, you never see the liberal or mainstream press report that news, that Goodlatte got 193 and shocked the establishment. And the other bill wouldn't have gotten anywhere near that. And so why in the world are we going with the group that opposes leadership in public and goes to work with Democrats? Why are we pushing their bill and asking the White House to push that bill? I don't get it, right? They sent secretaries over, they sent Sessions over, and they didn't do any of that to push the Goodlatte bill, which with 20 votes flipping, we could have passed, right? And so Goodlatte is the bill that went through regular order. It's the bill that Ryan promised, a year ago. And now they're working the other bill with the moderate camp. We all know they have tough elections. That's not the issue, but it's what we promised the American people. That's what matters. And the bill that will actually work. And that's the Goodlatte bill because it has E-Verify in it, which just is the linchpin to solving this problem going forward.
It's unbelievable. It really is. They don't want to solve it. And look, even if you passed the Goodlatte bill, it would have never gotten through the U.S. Senate. It would have never gotten anywhere near 60 votes needed because of the cloture rule. So the president tweeted out Friday, and I kind of agree with him. He says, this whole thing is a waste of time. Until you can get McConnell to go to 51 votes and get rid of the 60-vote cloture rule, you're not going to get anything done. We're out of time. I want to thank Congressman Dave Brat for being with us. More information, davebrat.com. That's davebrat.com. Congressman, thanks for being with us. As always, we appreciate it.
Have a great day, John.